yakking for a bit. Got a very special narrative live tonight as we're talking about the latest developments with Jeffrey Epstein, the files, the cover up that's been going on. Today, there was a deposition with Les Wexner. We'll get into all of that. Plus, we have something really special coming up on the show, an exclusive, never before heard playback of two compilation tapes from that initial grand jury that indicted Jeffrey Epstein from Palm Beach in 2005. So that's all coming up. Just getting the clear that we're streaming here and everything. Everyone's
Yeah, we're
watching.
streaming.
Yeah, let me welcome
We're
Lev
live.
Parnas and Kait Justice here to Narrative. You both know both of them. They're terrific contributors to this effort to expose everything around Epstein. And Lev, you've had a busy few days trying to ramp up the conversation around Lutnick. I'm dying to hear how that's going on. And Kait, you're doing some extraordinary coverage about the plea deal that ultimately got Jeffrey Epstein off these charges in 2008. So, well, that sort of bookends the tape we'll be listening to a little bit later on. So, welcome to both of you. Lev, why don't you
Thank you.
tell us a little bit about your experiences this week and how Lutnick is beginning to shape up as quite a character in this, a real
Yeah.
target for potential resignation, and certainly become a big target in the Congress.
Yeah, no, definitely. First of all, because it's thanks to incredible reporting like you, like Kate, like Ellie, and others, because you guys have been doing incredible. I call, somebody, I won't mention people's names, but gave us a nickname of the Wolf Pack. And we wear it proudly because it's not about just this, because it's about the Epstein files. And we're digging in and a lot of progress. You guys could see every day. Literally, you wake up in the morning and literally it's not just every day, it's all out through the day, every day out throughout the day. You see Kate putting out something, Ellie putting out something, Zeb breaking something constantly. And we're constantly in touch with Congress, getting them the information, because there's just so much out there, and there's so many links that are going out there that it's just and that's part of the Republican, not Republican, mega, and Donald Trump's theory: flood the zone, flood them with so much hard, they don't have the assets or the capability to be able to decipher it. But thanks to, they underestimated crowdsourcing, they underestimate the power of the people, like usually most dictators do. And right now, in this fight, we're just doing some incredible work. So yeah, so just to bring you up to speed, so for those of you that know Howard Lutnick, just to connect, like our friend Waj would say if he was here right now, just like to connect some of the dots. Howard Lutnick came on. Nobody asked him, but he wanted to be brazen and came on live TV and did a podcast where all of a sudden he wanted to distance himself from the Epstein files. He came on and had this dramatic conversation, and basically where he went into this talking about, and I still remember. I mean, it's so crazy because just think about that. I just remember even him standing there explaining how he looked at his wife and how they saw the massage table and the way he whispered to him and he creepy. And then him and his wife looked at each other and said, no, we're not doing this again. Like, and that was it. That for me, like, that reminded me actually of literally of a time when Donald Trump it started an insurrection, and January 7th, right after, I mean, literally everybody stood up there. Everybody said, that's it. I remember Lindsey Graham, I've had enough. We had a good journey. That's it. He broke it. And here we are again. Same thing kind of with the Epstein files. We're watching a lot of this stuff happening out. But yeah, Lutnick came out, said, that's it. We're not doing it. I'm not seeing it, me and my wife. And obviously, due to some of the great reporting, especially Zev has been on Lutnick for a while, and we've been seeing that there's a lot more. He's been to the island with his family. There, we're seeing, notes today going back about his nanny, and Epstein
Right.
seeing
That's
her.
Ellie Leonard found that earlier on, and she shared
And
it with us.
yeah, that
Really fascinating
absolutely.
to see that, they're talking about a nanny. It may be as innocuous as a nanny, but maybe it's not about just a nanny. And maybe it's not, knowing everything we know about Jeffrey Epstein. Who knows what the conversation really was about? And was that just code?
And I don't think it was code. I'll give you my honest opinion. Being around men like that, being around billionaires and everything, they always hit on nannies. They always hit on each other's nannies, depending. And I'm saying to you,
Oh,
some
so
of
it's not
them
code, but
hire
it's still.
No, some of them hire nannies, young nannies, because they're mistresses and stuff. Like, it's really crazy world when when you're around people like that. But
Mm.
I even see, I could imagine Epstein liking the nanny because she could have been young or whatever, and basically saying, I'd like to see her, and Howard arranged that or something like that. And again, that's also disgusting. I mean, I'm not under, I'm not saying that that's something better, but I agree with you. I don't think it was just code. Again, we don't know. It could be Zev. I won't put
No.
anything past these people, but just from my experience, seeing how being around them, that it's just some of these people are completely. But everybody's saying we already wished, and let's do it one more time because everybody's saying it. Happy birthday to
Oh
Kate
yes,
from all
Kate.
of us
Oh,
here. It's
thank you.
Kate's
Thank you.
birthday.
It's so nice of you to
Because
spend your birthday with us. That is really nice.
yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
Um,
it's
It's
for a
really
good cause.
it is a good cause,
yes,
Thank
but
you,
it's
everybody. I
incredible.
appreciate it.
um,
Yeah, incredible cause. So definitely. So let's get back to Lutnick. I just wanted because I saw a lot of comments. I wanted to make sure
no,
that we
Thank you.
didn't forget Kate is family. We made sure we've been wishing her happy birthday all day. But
All
thank you,
day.
everybody. You can keep wishing her happy birthday while I'm telling you a little story about Howard Lutnick. So Howard Lutnick came out, did this whole song and dance, and literally within a week later, as God works in mysterious ways. There's an Epstein dump. And in that dump, we see Howard Lutnick was in on an island having a dinner, not even lunch. Howard, he lied, I think, in front of Congress. He went and said he had lunch for an hour. They went back. Now we're seeing that in some of these emails today. I think that Ellie discovered that it was dinner plans, and
Hmm.
it talks about which couples. So there was a lot more than
mm,
the way Howard again explained it. That we came in, we were there for an hour, and very interestingly, the way he said we left, and he said I left with the kids and all the nannies.
yeah,
And remember, we used to speak, and we were saying about, I think, a couple of days ago, why would you say I left with the nannies?
yeah.
Well, now we know, because now we see today, we see an actual
Well, that's what I was
email, because he
wondering. I'm
was
wondering
already
if that
he was
same nanny is was he was
yeah,
made to sure that no, she left with us. We didn't leave her there for
right.
anything like that. She was we because later he must have assumed it was going to come out that
Right,
that
yeah,
this was because this was afterwards. It was 10 months after his visit to the island.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
wouldn't put it past
absolutely.
anybody. Certainly not this guy. Every time I look into his history here, it looks more and more damning. So many criminal events that have happened, and we went through this earlier on at noon when we
Well,
did, or
yeah,
12:30. We did the show. Just looking at this 302 that came out, which is this interview with this whistleblower, just was saying that Lutkin is involved in so many criminal activities, in
yep,
money laundering with the Russian mafia,
organized
involved with
crime,
Bear
yeah,
Stearns, involved with all sorts of
JP
corruption, stealing from
Morgan, yeah,
charities.
yeah,
Um,
charities,
the
yeah,
Fergie charity, which is upstairs in his office, apparently is stealing from
nine
that
eleven.
was all
His
stolen. That
own.
Ghislaine Maxwell was involved in that charity. All these things coming out about Lutnick, who's still the Commerce Secretary today, and despite heads rolling everywhere in the world, somehow he remains in office, and it tells you how dirty this administration
Hmm.
really is. If this kind of stink doesn't get you out of your job, what does? It's just the
Hmm.
most corrupt administration you can possibly imagine.
He
Well,
also
yeah,
lied
you got,
about it,
yeah,
right? Like, didn't he lie
yeah,
about it and then he admitted, okay, we were on the island after it came out, but he lied about
yep.
it to begin with. Like,
Oh,
so it'd be one thing if he was like, hey, I had this relationship, this is what happened from the beginning, but he didn't. So, I mean, that
He's a
says a lot
professional
in
liar.
itself.
He really is.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
clearly he's not because he's not very
Well,
good at it. So,
He's being
the
found
whole
out
thing.
now. That's for sure. But
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
yeah. It's interesting that you guys are saying that, because and a lot of people are concentrating on this. He was on the island, if he was or he wasn't the nanny, and those are all important parts. And I always say, but I always say that you got to look at what's not really being talked about, and what Zev has been reporting on. I think it is really Howard Lutnick's Achilles heel. I don't think Howard Lutnick is involved in some kind of pedophile ring. I don't. That doesn't mean he's not. I'm just giving you right now from what I'm
yeah, an
seeing. I think
opinion,
Howard
but
Lutnick. Yes, correct. And he might be. I think Howard Lutnick is involved in a lot of financial crimes. I think
Agreed.
Howard Lutnick over the years has been doing business with people like Epstein, Russian organized crime, Donald Trump, and other shady individuals that are all intertwined through the Epstein files. And I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, because we're seeing things like the 302s and everything that are even are much later in their history, of where when Howard Lutnick and all these guys really ran like a rat pack, which is in the 90s, the late 80s, the 90s. This is when they really, because at that time there was so it was the stock market, the world was so unregulated compared to the way it changed after 9/11. After 9/11, the way the world changed, the way financing changed, the way regulations changed, it was all different. And I think what is important that Howard Lutnick is hiding is what we're not seeing in the files right now. We're not seeing all these 302s and all these financial documents and all these financial links. We're just seeing bits and pieces. We're seeing a lot of this, sex trafficking, a lot of this pedophilia, but just think about what we're not seeing. And that's what I think Howard
And
Lutnick is right. Yeah, go ahead, Kate. Sorry about that.
just to your point, I was going to say, I think the other thing I was thinking about the other day, as far as like the 80s and 90s go, is email wasn't really a thing then. So it's like we're watching
That's
when
right.
email started to become cool and they started to embrace these things. And so there's a lot that we're missing because they weren't emailing each other. However, I think that those earlier emails, the ones that I found from much earlier, they seem to be much more free with kind of what they're saying. I think probably because it's new and they hadn't thought about so much of what we're looking through now. But it was just an interesting thought I had, was we kind of were watching people embracing that technology as we're going through
No,
all
I
of
think
these case files.
it is true.
I think that's a great point.
Donald Trump never writes emails. Never writes emails. That's why he's out of
Yeah.
jail. Still hasn't gone to jail. The rest of these people who wrote all these emails are proving out to be a really interesting track of who they are and their activities, and we're learning so much about them. It's kind of stunning. Now, Les Wexner, who everybody knows is Jeffrey Epstein's mentor, boss, call him what you will, the guy who sort of started him out. He's number one and only client, I think, till officially until the end. Of course, unofficially, yeah.
Is that sorry to interrupt you, brother? Waj joined us, I
Oh,
think,
okay.
just to let you
Let
know,
me let
just
me
if
get
you
him
want.
in here.
I apologize to interrupt you, but
No worries. That's not a
yeah,
that's a worthy interruption. Love
yeah.
Waj. Let me see where he is because I gotta add him in here. Let me do this and then let's do Kate. But I still don't see him
W-
here. Oops, sorry, Kate. I think I lost you there by accident. I'll put you back up. There you
That's
are.
okay.
But
I knew
where
you'd
is
bring me
Waj?
back.
Let me find Waj. Did he use the same link or is he? Let me see if I can get to.
I just saw have it on a separate screen. I saw
Okay.
your actual live being so, and I saw him join people saying that.
Okay. Well, let me resend him the link then, so at least he's got the right
Yeah,
thing. Um,
yeah, perfect,
and then we can get him into the conversation here. Um,
excellent.
there is a lot of
What?
little things on my screen here.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy right now.
I can't,
While you
yeah.
do,
You
yeah,
guys
yeah,
who do all the tech.
while you do that, I'll just tell there's some more Lutnick stuff while
Sure.
we're getting Waj up here. So also, folks, the important part that Zev has been uncovering, and you're seeing, and I think it's an incredible point what Kate just made is that's right. We're not seeing emails or stuff because back then there were no emails. A lot of it, in the late 80s, early 90s, just technology. If you remember, it was we had the pagers and then the phones came out. And then only I think in the late 90s, if I remember correctly, that we started getting some sort of emails. So the stuff that we're not seeing, that the stuff that in the 3.5 million files and the stuff would be stuff like 302s, like whistleblower complaints, like people that were coming filing other survivor complaints, and it would be hard actual evidence more than just because a lot of the stuff we're seeing is also stuff that's probably in the Epstein estate and the Maxwell estate, because a lot of the stuff that's been taken out from their actual emails. So that they have been. So we're not seeing a lot of stuff. So I agree, Kate. There's a lot more, and I think the real juicy part is what obviously they're holding back that we're not seeing.
I think that's very true.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit more about while we wait here for
Yeah,
Waj.
yeah.
This is Wexner and his wife Abigail, and this is Jeffrey Epstein. They were always rumored to have a relationship together. A lot of people suspected that Wexner and Epstein were actually lovers or appeared to behave like lovers at times. He, of course, is the founder of Victoria's Secrets. He's the founder of L Brands. He's the founder of Abercrombie and Fitch. There's a couple of other massive companies that he's involved in. I think Bath and Beyond, one of those companies is Bathworks.
Bed
or
Bath
something.
and Beyond, yeah. Or
So he's
Bath
a
and Body Works,
billionaire, and he rules Ohio like the brute force that he is. He really is Mr. Ohio. He, in every way, seems to run it. And Wexner hired Jeffrey Epstein to work for him in the 1980s. In what was a very scandalous time, and there's a murder involving one of Wexner's lawyers from 1987 that everyone sort of felt like Epstein came in to replace that lawyer that was murdered, a case that was never solved. So Wexner's been high up on everyone's list for their position, and finally today the congressional committee that's overlooking the Epstein file went to interview him. Only the Democrats showed up; the Republicans never bothered. This was originally meant to happen in D.C., but then he was quite ill or not well to travel, so they moved it to Ohio. And then I gather at the meeting he answered some questions, but mostly it was about this one email that he shared or one statement that he made, which we'll just take a quick look at here because it reveals a lot about how he's covering up for Epstein. Sorry, go ahead.
I have some interesting info. I was speaking to a congressperson off the record that was in part of these hearings, and I have some. I'll bring you up to speed on what actually transpired. And what
I'd
happened.
love to hear about that because it is being
me too.
It's been difficult to get a lot of information about it.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us now what happened? Go ahead and tell us what you know.
So Wexler took an interesting approach. Instead of taking the fifth like others, he took the approach of age and I don't remember. There was a lot of I don't remember, and a lot of don't remembers. There were a lot of interesting parts. One of it was particularly where he was talking about Donald Trump, not remembering exactly the story, but saying that he would show up a lot to his Victoria's Secret runways. That there was young girls that to the fashion industry, and it was for him it was weird because Donald was never involved in fashion, but he was always show up to his Victoria model runway events and stuff like that. But a lot of it was just basically I don't remember, a lot of covering up, a lot of like you said, Zev, you could tell lying and playing that game.
Yeah. Well, this is the statement that he put out. It was just before the question and answer period. He said, "I'm pleased to testify today. Please because it's an opportunity to set the record straight. Over the years, I've been the subject of outrageous, untrue statements and hurtful rumor, innuendo, and speculation. Let me state from the start, I was naive, foolish, and gullible to put any trust in Jeffrey Epstein. He was a con man. And while I was conned, I have done nothing wrong and have nothing to hide. I completely and irrevocably cut ties with Epstein nearly 20 years ago when I learned that he was an abuser, a crook, and a liar. And let me be clear, crystal clear, I never witnessed nor had any knowledge of Epstein's criminal activity. I was never a participant nor co-conspirator in any of Epstein's illegal activities. To my enormous embarrassment and regret, I, like many others, was duped by a world-class con man. I cannot undo that part of my personal history, even as I regret ever having met him." It goes on and on and on here about all this stuff. He talks about a $5,000 loan that he started his company with. He's a very impressive story, but really it's not relevant to Epstein. I was introduced to Epstein in the mid-late 1980s by Bob Meister, the former vice chairman of AON. Bob knew and I needed help managing my personal finances and suggested that I speak with Epstein. I did not rely solely on Bob's recommendation. He also consulted Ace Greenberg and Jimmy Kane of Bear Stearns. Well, that says a lot, doesn't it? Because it puts Wexner into that whole circle around liquid funding and Bear Stearns, which we've been uncovering on Greatest Heist. Epstein's former employees, is what he calls them. They both endorsed Epstein without hesitation. That's weird because apparently he committed a crime while he was there. That's why he was lost his
Right.
license, right?
Yeah, which
Then
is
he also
exactly.
he's offered other references from Eli de Rothschild. When I spoke with Eli, he highly recommended Epstein based upon work Epstein had done for his family. At first, Epstein was unwilling to take me on as a client. In fact, for the first time in a few years, I was acquainted with him. This is really interesting because Epstein, just let me finish this one sentence. Epstein offered me advice here and there while explaining that giving individual financial advice was not his focus and refusing to accept compensation. He said he was assisting me as a favor. Little did I realize that from that very start, Epstein was conniving to gain my trust. I mean, there's a lot of no, it's not true. It's what's not true. What's going on here? What you've got is, the fact that he was friends with the Rothschilds, the fact that the Rothschilds were clients of Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's true. But the fact that he wasn't
just to
compensating actual advice, well, that's just not true
and
because he
just
gave him
to
a
tie
house,
in
he gave him several
the
houses,
millennials.
and a lot more.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
you.
go ahead, Kate. Go ahead.
I was just going to say to tie in the millennial stuff, just because Wexner is responsible for a lot of brands that my generation grew up with, right? And so we're all kind of going through our own little version of trauma, kind of realizing how much of this really did influence our childhood. And then just listening to this letter, all I can think about is the way Tyra Banks just completely deflected in that documentary that just came out on Netflix. So she hosted America's Next Top Model, which was very toxic, and she was a Victoria's Secret model, and there's a lot there to question. And I don't know what the point was for her, but it really just was a lot of deflection. And listening to this letter from Les Wexner, like you had mentioned, he goes on to talk about his loan and all of these things, and it was just really, I just all I could think of was Tyra and just the master class of deflection and
there was someone else. There was Tyra.
gaslighting.
Naomi Campbell was involved in this whole group of people, right? There was a lot of pretty famous people involved. Lev, did you meet Wexner ever?
No.
No. Do you remember, what was his reputation like way back when?
I mean, I've never really even that he never was. He was not in my league. I was never in his company, his league. He was never somebody. I was never in the fashion industry back then. I mean, Wexner is somebody. I've met a lot of people, but Wexner wasn't one of them.
It's interesting because many people suspect that he and the Rothschilds.
I love that you're surprised that I didn't mean.
Well, because I expect you to. I expect you to know this whole crew, and you disappoint me sometimes when you don't. So you don't come through. But Wexner was sort of recluse, right? He lived in this New Albany, it's his own little like weird town that he built in Ohio. Which was all like sort of mid. It felt like an English town, but it's set in Ohio, and he controls the police, he controls the entry, he controls everything there. There's dogs running around, like security guard dogs.
Oh.
It's hard to get into, and he's very paranoid apparently. So he never really left. He wouldn't even leave to go to Washington D.C. today, which is telling. I'll focus more on this in a separate piece because I think I need to run through this whole statement very carefully. He is lying in about a lot of this stuff because there was obviously a financial engagement because he gave so much money, $46 million to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, he can say he was conned, but how do you become this great businessman and then accidentally give someone $46 million? It's just strange credulity.
Well, it's what's happening right now is these people have very powerful lawyers, and this is being technically being strategically formulated for them because that's why you're seeing certain answers. Like that's why you're seeing, an 80-year-old something man saying, "I don't remember. What are you gonna do?" You know what I'm saying to you? I don't remember. What are you gonna do? And then when he says something, even if he says something and then says, "Oh, I remember different." I mean, what I'm saying to you is it's being formulated a lot where the way it's being structured where I don't think you're going to see a lot of accountability when it comes to Les Wexner, because of, just it's taking so much time. I think, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I think what Les Wexner would have paid the piper. I think, when Epstein first was in 2008 taken, I think that's when, all of these people should have been taken down. Some of them, have slipped through, and because it's taking such a long time, I don't, hopefully there's accountability through to others, but I don't see Les Wexner from just what transpired even today.
He's always been a bit of an untouchable in this world. Every time you bring up his name, people sort of recoil. They stop doing their business. They stop talking to you about things. I've covered him a couple of times, and I know when I've had negative coverage out there, he has responded. He has let it be known that he didn't like it, or was not even, was not thrilled about something in different ways, not in always the most polite ways. But that's what happens, I guess, when you cover this kind of stuff. What I want to get to is the at least 10 minutes, if we can, if you've got the capacity here, guys, to listen to the first 10 minutes of this grand jury that took place in 2005 that first indicted Epstein. It's the first time we've heard it. I remastered it. I spent most of this afternoon pulling it together as a remastered reel because it was hard to hear the original. So you're going to hear it. It sounds very fresh now. It sounds like it's happening right now. The original tape is not quite as fresh. But it shows you how the case was put together. It begins with the detective who ran the investigation, and it's his testimony, and how these girls were lured in, and it's really a remarkable bit of history. If you're just a bit of a crime buff, then this is a good thing to listen to. But also, it tells you a lot about what was being going on with Epstein and how they try to fight this, and the attempt to get the girls to shut down the case, and how this became a small thing in a high school in Palm Beach, which today has now threatening the world and democracy in the world. It's quite a remarkable feat when you think about everything that's changed. Now, I only have a black screen behind it, so I'll put it up as most creatively as I can, and I'll leave us as well, but I'll cut our microphones. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we'll be able to hear it in just a second. So we just.
I'm really excited. I mean, folks, this is the first time we're going to hear the grand jury actually. What was said to the grand jury? This is a 2008 case.
Yeah.
This is the case where where Epstein actually went to trial. Zev did some incredible work. He's basically taken 2 hours and taken out all of the greatest and you guys, so we could spend 10, 20 minutes. So let's go over it. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's take a listen right now then. This is the grand jury testimony from 2008.
Detective Ricard, let's go back to the investigation before you took over. It's still Detective Pagan. There's a mention in her report of trash pulls. What's a trash pull?
Trash pull is when you make arrangements with the supervisor of sanitation to have the trash man go onto the property, remove the trash, and place it in the empty well of the trash truck, and you follow them to a different location, and you retrieve the bags from the truck.
How is it that you can take things off someone's property without a search warrant in that way? Is it permissible because it's been discarded?
It's discarded. It's trash. It was in the truck. We just take possession of it from the truck. Okay. She agreed to bring the girls to him, and he told her the younger, the better. She brought a 23-year-old to massage him, and he told her that she was too old, and he wanted someone younger. Knowing that she went to Royal Palm Beach High School, he recommended she ask for friends. During the statement, she gave me approximately 6 names that she can remember that she took to the house that all went to high school.
Who did tell you she took to the house?
On October 10th, I had made telephone contact with her. She was up in Jacksonville, Florida. And I had explained to her that I was conducting this investigation. Miss began to cry. I explained that she had been to the house hundreds of times. Started going there at the age of 16 when she was still attending high school, where she was offered to $200 for 30 minutes of work.
How was she introduced to him?
She was taken to him by a friend of hers who also had gone to high school.
Okay.
She was taken to the house. She would have to perform this massage naked.
She knew that before she went?
That it was explained to her by.
Okay. What did she describe about that first visit to Jeffrey Epstein's house?
She recalled that the appointment was set up for that same day. They contacted Mr. Epstein's assistant, later identified as, where the appointment was made. She was taken. She remembered it was on the weekends because she only worked on the weekends as she was still going to high school. She was taken upstairs to the master bedroom. She could observe in the spiral staircase up to the bedroom area. There were photographs of naked women throughout the house.
Adult women?
I believe so.
Okay. She goes upstairs. What happens upstairs?
She's taken into the room. The room is set up. The massage tables are set up. Ointments are put out. Epstein enters the room and introduces himself to her. He lays on the massage table and asks her to get comfortable. She stated that she couldn't remember if she provided the massage naked, but knows that she had rubbed his legs, thighs, and feet. All during this time, Epstein turned onto his back so that she could rub his chest, and he started to masturbate.
Okay.
Which was another thing. And the other girls, every time there was a massage, Epstein would masturbate himself.
Was she able to see his penis, or was it under the towel he had come out in?
He had exposed his penis to her, removed the towel, which made it visible.
How long did that go on?
She had been to his house over in a 2-year period, she stated hundreds of times.
I meant the masturbation.
Oh. It was for several minutes.
Okay. Did he touch her at all that first time?
He introduced into their routine.
So it became threesome at some point.
Right.
Okay.
He had asked to perform oral sex on. He originally had refused. He enticed her by giving her additional monies to perform this act for 5 minutes.
How much additional monies?
$200 extra.
And then she agreed?
And at which point she agreed.
Okay. Was it always just the masturbating in front of and sex acts with, or were there additional sex acts with Jeff Epstein?
It was explained that at one point towards the end, prior to turning 18, or just after, it had been previously spoken that there would be no vaginal penetration by Mr. Epstein. She has stated that Mr. Epstein had a deformed penis and did not want to have any kind of intercourse with him. It was after where they had purchased sex toys. They introduced the sex toys as Epstein would watch on and masturbate to. At one point, he grabbed placed her head on the massage table and inserted his penis in her vagina.
Okay. You said they introduced sex toys, purchased sex toys. Who purchased sex toys? Was Al they were purchased?
It is, yes.
Okay. So went to purchase the sex toys.
For Epstein's birthday, correct.
Okay. And during this time that he penetrated her vagina, she was either 17 or 18. You're not clear which.
Right.
Okay.
This was towards the end. It was after that she stopped going to his house.
Did he give you any other information?
He also stated that he had kept a folder for his protection, some notes that were made during his employ with Mr. Epstein.
What? So he kept like a journal?
Basically, yes, like a folder with different sheets of papers inside.
And he would write notes himself, or he would put notes in that
He
journal?
would put notes inside.
Okay.
Notes that were given to him on Epstein's stationery.
Was there any note that he provided to you in that folder that indicated something, any type of relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and any of the girls we've discussed?
Yes, he provided 2 sheets. One was to extend the rental car for as the contract was up the 2nd of February.
2nd of February, what year?
I was unable to determine that. researched the information through Dollar Rent a Car, and they were unable to locate the car that he rented.
Okay. But did confirm that she had gotten a car?
Yes, she even described the car as a blue Dodge Neon, four-door. She explained the whole car to me. Additionally, there was another notation to take a bucket of roses at 9 p.m. to high school and give the flowers to after her stage performance, as she was in a drama club and had a performance that night.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. The common link here was high school, and there was actually comments made from people that says that there's nobody in Royal High School that does not know about Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, sir.
The girl that brought these girls about $200.
Yes. She was one of the girls. There was another girl that brought them.
Okay, then after he got some of their cell phone numbers, did he make his own appointments? Did he still pay him?
That is correct. Eventually, they cut out and would contact these girls directly.
Did Jeffrey Epstein make the appointments, or was it done through?
His assistant.
So we don't have any of the girls actually making an appointment with Jeffrey Epstein himself.
Correct.
Were you able to talk with? No.
No, the defense did not allow.
So claimed to make it clear to Epstein that for the 2 years she was going, she was in high school. He knew that.
He knew that based on the sending the flowers to her school for her high school play that she was in. It was discussed in the ride over that if she would ask her age, to say that she was 18.
Okay. And he is going to do that fast.
Yes.
Okay. At this point, we're going to ask to testify.
Okay.
Please hang around and testify again in a little bit.
Yes.
Yes, I was.
What rooms are on that upper floor?
There are several rooms that are located on the second floor. It is basically an L-shaped appearance where the main body of the house is aligned east and west. There is a L-shaped short leg which protrudes to the north. That L leg sits over a 3-car garage. The second floor contains on the west end, a large master bedroom, which is aligned north and south. And then off of the south side, there is a large master bedroom and large closet. Coming back through the bedroom to the north side, there is another bathroom. And these are quite large bathrooms. They're not like
So we'll come back to more of that.
not like my house.
There's a whole other section here, but
Yes, it is.
and I just I should have warned everybody. This is very triggering, of course, and I apologize for not warning everybody before. This is incredibly difficult to listen to, and remarkably real. I mean, it sort of takes what we've spoken about in the past and makes it very, very real.
I mean, really, it really hits home, and yeah, everybody there. This is real. People that never heard this, you're hearing literally first time ever testimony. This is the grand jury in 2008. This is when Epstein was, when the world had an opportunity to put away a monster, when the world had an opportunity to save plenty of young girls that suffered, I don't know, countless how many young women, young girls, and children have suffered because if you just listen to how disgusting it is, this is just little parts of it. There's over 2 hours of, that was just putting together. But yeah, no, this is just heartbreaking. And again, to see how long this cover up has been going up, how long the protection. And the one thing I want to say again, because we talk a lot of these people that are saying that they're mentioned, their names are mentioned in the Epstein files. I personally want to make it clear, yes, a person that took a picture with Epstein because he was at some fundraiser and didn't know or couldn't, or it was just some politician or some celebrity, that's not being in the Epstein files. But if you were doing business with this guy, if you were visiting him on his island, if you were making plans with him to go have lunch, if you were, joking about, the type of movies and girls and stuff like that, that makes you complicit. even if you were not on this island, even if you didn't do some of those sexual things, because it doesn't make a right to be aware, knowing, and just saying to yourself, just like a Howard Lutnick, how do you sleep well at night, going saying, oh, just because I didn't participate. How do you look at your daughters and kids at night, knowing how many of those kids were at that island while you're trying to make money with this guy, while you're trying to figure out how to make the next con? Because what Epstein was, and the one thing everybody has already agreed upon, was that he was a master con man. So the one thing you can understand is all of these people that have been around him in his circle are all con men. They're all in
And
the
to
loop.
that point, Lev, I want to make a point because if somebody like Les Wexner is saying that I was gullible, I was duped, can you imagine being a 14 or 15-year-old high school girl?
Exactly.
I was
Yeah.
the age that these girls were roughly. Like, I'm 39 years old today. Most of these girls, I was the same age group. I was walking around in the Bronx when I was 13, not far from where Epstein was at the same time. And so listening to that, just knowing that from what I understand, they actually had convinced these girls that they did illegal things by being prostitutes. And it's like, really, they were abused. Yes, they were paid, but they were abused. They were conned into this, they were taken advantage of, they were manipulated. And the fact that so many people have been so complicit in this, and this is so, the scale of this is so much bigger than we can ever imagine. That's why I'm here on my birthday, because I can't sit here
Yep.
knowing that these people are walking around knowing what it's like to be a young girl who's vulnerable. And that's what
Kate,
they were children.
Kate, and I just want to, say very well said. And the other thing I just want to add to it that is so important is how you said, like, they were, kids that were being. Just think about, it's like going back into the old movies where a rich guy, raped a young girl, and then she tries to go to the sheriff, and the sheriff is bought out, and basically, because
Yep.
it wasn't even Epstein that was threatening these girls of being prostitutions. It was the prosecutors. The
Mm-hmm.
prosecutors were telling him that, just think about, folks, these young girls that were, sexually raped, tortured, whatever you want to call it, came to what we were all taught. You go to the police. You go to the police to tell them that it's hard enough. Just think about, I'm not a female, and I know Kate, we're talking about, but, being a father, being a son, being, having a sister, just thinking about going, the difficulty would be, I'll even tell you a story. Like my daughter, she had a friend in college that if didn't know if she was date raped, because she woke up, and I remember
Mm-hmm.
her talking to me and saying how difficult it was for her to even go get a rape kit, or to go, because of the
Mm-hmm.
embarrassment, the
The
fear of
stigma.
not being the stigma, not the fear of not even being believed. Even now,
Yep.
like, literally, like, we're talking about. So think about back then. This is going back to almost 20 years ago, when these girls are going to hard enough to go to police, and tell them, listen, this is what happened. And then you got these powerful police prosecutors looking at them like this. And trust me, I sat there, I know how intimidating it is. And they look at you and say, well, you have to be careful, because you took money, and that could be considered
Yep.
prostitution, and you could be the ones that are legally now charged. Are you kidding me? This is what was
Right.
going on, folks. This
Mm-hmm.
was the first part. This is the beginning of this whole cabal conspiracy. This is where it all started.
It is true, and one of the things that you point out there is what Jeffrey Epstein and his team of lawyers, the star team of lawyers, did. Um, you know, um, Whatever they called themselves, it involved Kenneth Starr, of course, was the chief prosecutor, but there was Dershowitz, there were a few others, Lefkowitz, there's a couple of other people involved. Black, I think, was one of them, and they hired private investigators to intimidate these victims. They would pretend to be
They
police
sure did.
officers. They
Yep.
would try to gain access to these victims' homes in order to figure out what they were going to say, and then afterwards intimidating them. If they said anything, they would get hurt. If they didn't say anything, they'd get wealthy. It was basically that was the thing that they were doing. That's how desperately they were trying to kill this. And at the end of the day, this dream team spent $4 million in defending this state charge of prostitution, and succeeded. They succeeded in burying this. And they succeeded in burying it because the network, this giant right-wing conspiracy that Hillary Clinton would refer to, basically was able to shut this thing down. And you've done some work, Kate, on the plea deal agreement, which is stunning, really, because it was almost, and Ellie as well. Ellie put together a great piece the other day about how this piece was actually how the plea agreement was dictated by Jeffrey Epstein. It was basically
It was.
him saying, "This is what it's got to be," and and yes, the local attorney, the U.S. attorney Villafana, did a great job in pushing back. And without her, none of this would have even happened. There would have been not even a reduced charge. But she fought back really hard and insisted on just that one charge, which is why he was ultimately made a convicted predator. But tell me,
they
more
were.
about,
Sorry, just to add to that, they were, from what I understood, they kind of cut her out of the negotiations. They were negotiating all of the pleas and everything. Meanwhile, she thinks they're still indicting.
Yeah.
Like, I had seen an email and the timelines, because so kind of to talk about what you were going to probably bring up, but I had written about some of the emails that I had gone back and found from that time frame when Acosta's emails are missing. So if you're not familiar, we have been told that during the time of the negotiations of that non-prosecution agreement, Alex Acosta's emails just mysteriously disappeared. They have no record of them. They can't find any of them. So I had realized that
the Justice Department just disappeared.
Yes.
I mean, you think about that,
right.
It's like,
this isn't just some random email set. This is important stuff. And it's a technical glitch. They have no idea. They don't even have a real answer. But I realized that the emails are formatted the same way, with like the date. So it's like the 2 digits and then 3 letters from the month and then the year. And so I was like, well, I wonder if there's anything in there from that time period. And there was. So I had gone through, I think it was May, June, July, August, and September. And I think that's kind of as far as I got. And then I'm working on the rest. But I had just found a lot of those communications that were to Acosta, copying him and just referencing him. So I believe during his testimony, he made a lot of claims about not knowing things and being unfamiliar with things. Specifically, he didn't know about any financial crimes that were being looked into, but I had found some emails previously referencing, I think it was the Southern Trust Company and things like this. And then this one that you had pulled up specifically is that, from what I understand, this email seems to be the government, I'm not sure because it's redacted, reaching out to Epstein's attorneys to find their own charges that better fit things. Like this.
That's what it looks like. This is Jay Lefkowitz getting this email.
They're like, well, this one doesn't really fit it. So what else do you got? I don't know if you want to read it, Zeb, but it was ridiculous.
Jay, I think it's Jay Lefkowitz. It was nice seeing you again. And then Redacted and I talked with Alex, and Redacted, Alex is Alex Acosta, in all likelihood. We're all satisfied in principle with the agreement, but the office is uncomfortable with the recommended federal charge. Specifically, we are concerned about the effect of taking the position that Mr. Epstein's house in the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States, and we have no evidence of any assaults occurring either on Mr. Epstein's plane or offshore from his residence. We are hoping that you can find an alternative federal statute that can be used. I also waiting to hear back from Jack Goldberger. This is still very early on in their negotiation. They ended up pleading this down and whittling it down to basically one state charge.
Sure did.
And they kept doing it. They attacked Villafana relentlessly. The 2 women who did this investigation, the FBI agent Kirkendall and the attorney Villafana, are real heroes. They fought tooth and nail to get this done. 2 very courageous women who fought against the biggest machine possible, Ken Starr and company, who are trying to kill the case. It really is It's a
But I
remarkable
mean, that
story.
isn't normal, right? I mean, I'm not an attorney, but
No, it's not
it's
normal.
not normal for like you don't just normally like prosecutors say, "Hey guys, we don't, this doesn't really work for us. What else you got?" Like that just doesn't
Did
seem
that
like
happen with you,
something.
Lev, when you were under investigation? Did anyone say pick a
Yeah,
charge?
I mean, did they give you an
I
option? I
wish.
don't think so.
No, no, no. And by the way, a lot of people in the chat are asking. Yes, folks, we are getting all of this to Congress. This incredible team, like I said, the Wolfpack. That's our agenda, is to make sure to get all of this to all the right people, to make sure the truth gets out, and that there's accountability for these terrible men, and for there to be justice for the survivors. So absolutely. Continue. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, I was just going
I
to
just want
say
to,
that Acosta perjured himself in his testimony recently. He absolutely perjured himself because he knew there was a financial investigation, and he lied when he told
Yes.
Congress there was not. And they should be bringing him back and putting contempt of Congress or whatever charges they were putting in a perjury case. But he absolutely perjured himself, and he got away with some really, really gross allegations there, and lied about the whole case. Just to set the scene before we play some over this video quickly, this is the mansion we're talking about. So it's very secluded, even though it's part of Palm Beach. You know Palm Beach pretty well, Lev.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, that I know.
so tell us, these are big
This
states,
is the,
right? These are hard
yeah,
to
yeah.
penetrate.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're talking about, 40 million, 50 million, 100 million. Nowadays, I mean, the prices are even going up to 200 million and so on. But these
Wow.
are this is some of the most exclusive locations. Some of them are literally, you have water, and then you have beach access, tunnels underneath the highway to get to the beach. It's really a prime time. And this is, I think, it's like right around the Mar-a-Lago area, right around that whole area. It's extremely
This was 6
exclusive.
minutes north of Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah,
Really, really not very
yeah,
close. They could have walked there. They
yeah,
drove there, of
yeah.
course, but the girls came from another part of Palm Beach, from the poorer part of Palm Beach, where
Hmm.
that high school was
Well,
located.
well, yeah. Yeah, just to give you I'm sorry, to interrupt you, just
Yeah.
because that's a good point you said. So you see this wealthy part. If you go up like literally a few miles west of that, there's like the train tracks, and literally 2 3 miles, maybe 4 miles west of that, of where Mar-a-Lago and where these multi-million-dollar houses are after the train tracks, are very poor area. And there you would have you have very low income families. You have very, the high schools, and this is where they would go
And
there
they
to
targeted
find
those
the
girls
they tell, because
very
everybody knew
specifically.
in that, well, because everybody in those high schools knew it's on the other side of the tracks, is where, it's like a fantasy land. You don't get there, you can't go there, because, like here in like Boca and places like that, we have vagrancy laws. Like if you get pulled over by the police and you don't have like $2 3 in your pocket, like they make you leave the place. We don't have
That's
pornographic
insane.
yeah, we don't have pornographic stuff sold in our stores here. You can't get pornographic magazines and like Boca and some of these. So they have
Well,
all of these. That's why
with
a
the
lot.
girls,
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it it just with the girls, like, just because I mean, I grew up in government housing and I grew up, fairly poor. And so just, and then I went on, in my 20s, I actually went on to work in Lenox, Massachusetts, and it's very affluent. Like, there's a lot, I didn't even realize that world existed 10 minutes from where I lived. And so I've kind of seen both sides of that. And the, what I have learned with Epstein, and just from reading a lot of what their lawyers had written, they targeted these girls because it was that plausible deniability. Like, well, they just come from trash anyway.
Yep.
They're just looking for money, or they're just looking for drugs, and they have, their parents might have charge or whatever it is. So they've already gotten all these built-in things, should anybody say anything, to just discredit them. So they really did target those girls too.
They did. They
Oh,
absolutely did.
100%.
Yeah, let's listen to part two. This gets much more graphic. So really, if you're offended by things, turn it off. Don't listen to it. There's a lot more graphic language, and it explains how these girls were manipulated. Some of them were aware that they could be famous or make money or all sorts of things, And there was also this clear attack line by the defense, by Epstein's lawyers to try and discredit a lot of them. You're right about the plausible
Right.
deniability, Kate.
And also, Zeb, before you put it on, a lot of these girls were scared to even, like I said, to even go there. Forget about before even, and also a lot of them, like you said, were lied to, manipulate. Because think about a 13, 14-year-old girl that has you can't get $20 to go to the store. All of a sudden, she's on the other side of the tracks in this $30 million mansion, having the thoughts of maybe being some celebrity or being made her life. Or I mean, the manipulation is so big. People don't really understand it unless you're in their world, to watch, to see even, like, I'll tell you, forget about these young girls. I'll give you just a little quick story. I remember having politicians, grown men, when they would walk on to some of these oligarch yachts that I would have them come on to meet during the first administration of Trump, and they'd walk onto this 300 million or 400 million boat. They would be so intimidated by these people. They would be so, like, they would literally selling out the country by just sitting there. They were really, yes, whatever you want to do, like, because the power, the aurora, and these are grown, powerful politicians that are. And now,
Exactly.
can you imagine a 13, 14-year-old girl coming in there where she sees this wealth, this power, pictures of the Clintons, pictures of all these politicians all over? Who is she gonna go to? Who's gonna be? How she can't even tell her own parents. So they
And
use
that's
that. They
where
knew what they
Ghislaine
were doing.
came in. Like, she
Yep,
kind of
absolutely.
normalized that because, what, to your point,
Yeah,
they don't know what to expect. Not only are they young and naive, they're not from that world. So to them, they don't want to embarrass themselves, or they don't know that
yeah.
it's not normal. So Ghislaine's kind of job was to just make it, oh no, this is just how it is. We just always do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's
And they're
very, very
just like,
British and proper.
well, okay,
Um,
yeah, and you're just like, okay. And, but they're young girls. So
Let's listen to the remaining part of this. There'll be a lot more. I'll put the whole hour and 45 minutes or whatever it is on the website underneath this live video stream that we'll be replaying. But let's listen to part 2 again. This is graphic. It's the first time we're all hearing it. For the first time, the grand jury evidence and deliberation around the Jeffrey Epstein case in 2005. This is an exclusive here on Narrative. Let's take a listen to part 2 of this conversation.
There is a notation on one of her blogs that she says she would like to meet Bill Clinton this week because someone, and this is in quotes now, someone could be so famous for sucking his dick. That's how famous I could be, end of quotes.
Okay, and then there's a lot of other stuff where she talks about excessive use of marijuana.
Referred to as weed, yes.
Okay. And pictures on her website of her smoking weed and drinking beer,
That's correct.
holding bong type pipe.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Roth?
When you refer to doing drugs, you mean smoking dope, and what does that mean? Drinking? How does it encompass?
My interpretation is that either be smoking marijuana or doing hard drugs, cocaine or something like that. If it was drinking, I would refer to it as drinking alcohol. But when they refer to doing drugs, it's either smoking marijuana or taking hard drugs such as cocaine or something.
He did have 2 cameras, 2 covert hidden cameras in his house for security purposes. We did locate that computer. I reviewed the images in the computer. And within that computer, there are photographs of girls that I had previously interviewed that appears to be them. However, because it's so grainy, so snowy, a positive identification is, it's hard to, unless you show it to the girls, it's you, which I haven't done because too much information was being leaked back to him. So that's why I pretty much stopped giving them information as far as this investigation.
So you can't say specifically that the pictures are of the girls
I
involved?
cannot say positively. I can say that this girl appeared to be just like same hairstyle, same mannerisms of walking, same clothes typical that I've seen her wear. But I can't say for 100% that this is her. This appears to be her. Same body, style, face.
And the girls are still in touch with him, telling him about your investigation.
I know for a fact that
Telling you or not.
right. I know that has called, and other girls that I've interviewed or approached to be interviewed have called him. And
there are other girls that refuse to talk to you.
right.
I love Jeffrey. I'm not testifying against him.
Right.
One question is, when you say that the Waves and Favi had been residents of the Understood,
When I took over the investigation, I had our TAC team conduct physical surveillance, and they observed these girls coming to the residence in their vehicles, in their dad's car, in their mom's cars, coming to the house, seeing Epstein.
you do have witnesses that could put these girls in
Absolutely, absolutely.
In or at his home, not in sex acts, though,
No, not in sex acts. They were conducting surveillance from the outside.
other than the girls saying so.
Through physical surveillance, I researched all the intelligence that the police have gathered during the past couple of years. And in 2004, Mr. Rodriguez, the former houseman, had called the police because he had seen a suspicious vehicle that he did not recognize in the driveway of Mr. Epstein's house. Mr. Rodriguez was pulling in from Publix and didn't recognize the vehicle, so he left and drove straight to the police department and notified them there was a strange vehicle in the driveway. When that vehicle was approached by the police officers, they found sitting in the car with her friend.
Does it identify who the friend is? And when you look at that report, what is the date that was there in 2004?
November 28, 2004. And at which point her cell phone rang. And the officer felt that it must have been her mother because he says, "I can't talk, I'm in school."
Do you know the location of Jeffrey Epstein at present? He said that he hasn't been back since October.
He has various homes, one in New York. He has a ranch in New Mexico. He has a private island right outside St. Thomas. Has a home in Paris and one in England.
So if he needed to get in touch with him, you would have a way to do that.
He has various counsels representing him.
Yes, ma'am.
How old again, you know,
No, there was a total of 5 victims altogether. But as far as intercourse, you mean? As far as penile intercourse, I believe it was 2.
Yes, sir.
as far as it does not appear from what I'm hearing, center focal point, so coordinate all this for Epstein. It seemed like Epstein had multiple sources to have access to some of these girls. Is that correct?
All these girls were in a tight clique together, being the first one from that clique to go to the house. Basically was she brought Shazzy brought, so it was like a trickling effect.
Right. So this, I mean, it kind of seems like this little microeconomy just spawned here, and it does not, I mean, do any of these girls provide those types of services for money for anyone else? Do they do this on a common basis, or is it just so happen that Epstein is the source by which they're attracted to here?
Epstein was the source. I'm sorry?
That would be in him for more than a year, and he knew they were still in high school.
I know that all of them were in high school when they first started seeing him. Being 16, the age of graduation is 18. I would say they all, because they all met him through high school.
The question is the length of period. That this doesn't was one time. Like with, it was numerous, hundreds of times for 2 years.
Over 2 years.
15 or more times.
Right.
So this is long-standing with many of these girls.
Other than his stepmother coming to the police, she obviously found out from the principal, but the other girls, none of their parents knew about it or intervened in any way?
It wasn't until parents discovered what she was doing, it was at that time that she had stopped. And to this day, she still gets phone calls. She had to change her cell phone number. They've changed the house number from and Epstein.
Yes, here these girls are bringing home this money. They're obviously shopping, bringing home items, and none of the parents got involved. And
A lot of these parents had no idea what was going on.
I can't believe that one. That
Maybe you have to ask questions, not comments. Yes, ma'am. There, you had your hand up.
You mentioned Shasta.
No, actually, all the girls live in the Loxahatchee area, Royal Palm area.
Any suspicion that there perhaps were other groups of girls from other high schools or other areas that he was bringing into his home?
No.
You spoke earlier about a twin torpedo.
Torpedo that was found in Nada's bedroom.
Correct.
Using the diagram prepared by indicate which bedroom that was in the house.
It would have been down towards this bedroom here, I believe.
And
Where was
the massage table?
Well, each room had various massage tables. This was the master bedroom with his master bath, and there was massage tables here, as well as photographs all through here.
Okay, and the massage tables the girls described, was it in this room?
Correct. It was in this master bathroom here.
And
Other
other
than-
than the twin torpedo, there were no other sexual toys found in the house other than the jelly from the bedside.
The Joy Jelly, that's it.
Any other questions for Detective?
And what's Jeffrey Epstein's occupation?
He is a investor. He invests billionaires' monies.
All right, thank you. Detective Ricari,
Well,
let's go back
let's
to
just leave it there. Sorry,
the investigation
before this part. Boy,
Yeah. Whoa.
it's
First
hard
of
to
all,
listen
no,
to.
just to
It's
tell-
difficult.
Yeah, just to tell everybody, because I'm seeing the questions in the mar- just to give everybody a quick update. This is the first time ever actual Epstein grand jury that's being played. Zev Shalev has been able to take some of the clips out of it. So for you guys, you're hearing it for the first time. These are different detectives that were on the case here in Florida in 2008. They're being questioned by the prosecutors and the grand jury members. So for those of you that were asking who's that talking, just to give you go ahead, Zev. I'm sorry.
No, I
I,
think that's
I
really
just
helpful.
want to comment
Yeah.
on that one aspect. There was one part where I'm not sure who it was, but a woman had expressed her disbelief that the parents didn't know that this was happening because they were coming home with stuff. So I
Yeah.
just want to say, as someone who was a young girl and the mother of a 13-year-old girl, my daughter comes home with clothes that belong to a friend because they traded this one and this one. I mean, they come home with the most, I don't know what she has half the time because, she has her group of girlfriends and they're always trading stuff. And I imagine, and even designer stuff, I would imagine if it was a designer purse, they probably assumed it wasn't real, so it's just that kind it's not as unbelievable as it sounds.
This
that
case
the
went on
parents
for a
might not
Oh,
have
but-
known.
while, and
big
and then
time.
was
Plus,
and then
yeah.
was this sorry, and then they
No, I was
the,
just saying. I was just gonna say, as a parent, also, some teenage guy could tell you, I mean, they're great. They know how to hide things. They know how to make things happen. And a lot of these parents, you got to understand, these are families. There were, most of these kids are one-parent families. Most of these kids have parents that were working 2, 3 jobs. Most of these girls came from houses that were, not your. This is not the Brady Bunch.
no.
So when somebody asks and says, "How did your parents not know?" It's hard enough, where we live in a perfect society and we still have kids that have drug problems, kids that have mental problems, kids have all kinds of problems. That's part of growing up. So these kids had less of a chance. So the fact that nobody knew, that is why most of those kids, yes, because they were in survival mode. Most of these families are thinking about what to eat for tomorrow and not where she was for those 2 hours or how she got that shirt, because they're happy she actually got a shirt. Don't ask, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Virginia Giuffre talked about, her father working at Mar-a-Lago. He was the person who came to Mar-a-Lago. Her parents came to Jeffrey Epstein's place. They knew, obviously what was going on. So it's very hard to just understand that. But when you look at the financial discrepancy there between the different groups, of course, it would have been tempting for some families. The $300 that were found in one of these purses of these girls is how this really broke. And I discovered this in the Epstein files when I was reading it today. First time I've heard this. It was the daughter of a FBI detective who discovered that her daughter had $300 in her wallet, and she was asking, "Where is this from?" And that is why the case was originally opened. This is the first time
Wow.
we've been able to report that out.
Wow.
I didn't know
Now, I
that.
didn't know that
Yeah.
until I read it in the files today. The Epstein files are so important because these tapes that you've heard, I've remastered them so they don't sound like this when you first hear them in the files. But there's 3,000 different video and audio clips which we have now. I'm going through them slowly, one by one. And there's some really fascinating tapes, and then some really innocuous stuff there too. But I've not come across anything that has anything resembling abuse. There's some porn clips that look like someone taped off TV, but I've not seen anything that would show child abuse. Although, however, there's a couple of scenes which looked pretty scary. I mean, I now that I'm thinking about the couple that are there's a couple which we'll get to as we reveal these one by one. These are adults, but they're looking completely disoriented and drunk or out of their mind, really drugged out of their mind is the way I would describe it. So this isn't just about children. It's not just about the rape of kids. It's rape. It's just rape of women of all
Wrong.
ages,
Yeah.
who are being trafficked, who are being moved to these locations, who are being sold, who are being abused. This is just it's much more than just the child sex ring, and it certainly
Well,
is also
well,
the financial crimes as well.
well, I think the interesting part that I think also a lot of people now realizing that we're starting to see play out by a lot of this, that there was two separate type of operations going on also. So you had all of these underprivileged poor girls that were going on. Until then, this was originally Epstein's pool. Then he
Mhm.
started, once his relationship started growing with Russia, and that's when he started tapping into the Eastern
Yeah.
European, same vulnerability, just on a different side. He realized he could now get girls over here that had nowhere to say, that had no passports, that had no, and that's when you see the transformation going from these girls, because after his arrest and going forward, primarily you see no more of these underage girls locally, but now you're starting to see a lot of sex trafficking and a lot of the girls being shipped over from Eastern European and other
Mhm.
countries.
And some of them were Russian spies. I mean, some of them were literally trained
Oh,
by the
right. Well,
FSB
yeah,
and embedded in
absolutely.
his
Absolutely.
operation to go and spy on these billionaires. So there was a spying operation
Right.
built into this trafficking thing that is also hard for people to sort of understand that some of these were trafficked willingly as spies to do the spying that they needed to do on people. Others were trafficked. Others were used for compromise. They were underage. You name it. There was a whole operation here that just involved different girls,
And
different moves all the time.
And the one thing you're 100% right, Zev, just to add on to that, is because you got to understand Epstein. So just think about it. Prior to 2008, prior to his arrest, Epstein. This is what we know about. This is what we call about. But you can understand that he was already running a very powerful circles. So
Mhm.
there was a lot of stuff that was not uncovered, not we talked about, not shown about. But Epstein already had that circle that he realized about powerful men that had all of these fetishes, that had all of these sex perverted stuff, that had all, and that's why when he started building his relationship overseas with Russia, it was easy for him to start getting the girls for him to start using for then
Mhm.
operations that we're starting to see in Israel, in Russia, and all over the world.
And this kind of prostitution operation run by oligarchs or by the state, even in Russia, is pretty common. They
Yeah.
do this because that's how they compromise businessmen, leaders to do what they need them to do. So this is almost like a playbook that's directly ripped out of the Kremlin playbook. We've taken up too much of your time today because we've gone longer than 8 o'clock.
Yes.
But I wanted to thank you both for being here today. Kate Justice, tell people what you're working on right now and what's important on your Substack. There's some really terrific reporting you've been doing, connecting the dots, not just only on the plea bargain, but also plea agreement, but also on your, you've obviously struck a nerve with some international big names, amongst other things.
Yeah.
So tell us what's happening and what people can expect.
So I was going through, and like I said, I'm working on a second part of those missing emails from Acosta, just so we can better understand that non-prosecution agreement and what actually happened there. And then what Zev was talking about is I had, it was very validating. Okay. So I had written this piece, I don't know, back in October, I had found an email that mentioned Catherine Keating in the subject line. Everything else was redacted, but her name was in the subject line. And she's the daughter of former Prime Minister, I think his name's Paul Keating.
Yeah, Paul Keating.
And she was also famously more, in America, we would know her more as the friend of former Prince Andrew, who was seen leaving Epstein's house in New York. She was also seen. And so I had written a piece about her and why I thought she was the author of this particular email that involved Kuwait officials and royals. And so I had gotten a cease and desist in December over it. And not just that she wanted me to correct something, or there was no claim about any specific piece of information that was wrong, just that blanket statement, I didn't do this, and none of this is true, and to take the whole thing down or else. And so I had gotten a lawyer and sent a response, and they did not even give us a grace period to form a response. So we decided not to take it down. Well, come, I think January, the end of January, I found that same email without the redactions, and it was her who wrote it. And so, and then
So cheeky,
she
eh?
has
This is so
claimed to
cheeky.
not have any relationship with
Yeah.
him, no formal professional relationship. I've never scheduled any meetings, blah, blah, blah. And she has, her name's in there well over 1,000 times when you search Catherine Keating. So, so I wrote about what I had found and that whole thing. So there's lots of threads that I'm following.
That's fantastic. Kate Justice, and it's actually called
Very
Kate
well.
Justice, isn't it? Or is there another name for it? The blog, the
My
Substack.
Substack is Downwind of Truth.
Downwind of Truth, okay.
Yeah.
I just look for your name because it's such an interesting
Yeah,
spelling.
Kate
So
Justice.
it's easy to find. Lev, you're always so good at inspiring us and also very good at telling us what to do. There's a lot of things people can do today to get Congress moving on some of these names that keep popping up. Plus, what else do you think that they need to be doing to just keep the attention on the Epstein files? Because this is the attempt by the mainstream media to suppress it is unbelievable. You almost don't even hear about it.
Absolutely.
And there's lots more to be discovered in these 3.5 million documents.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Zev. First of all, before we sign off and go into some of the things about the Epstein files, I want to let everybody know, and I don't know if you even know, Zev, I'm working on some major stuff, and also with Congress. But for those of you that might not remember, there was a Russian-Israeli spy by the name of Alexander Smirnov that happened to start the whole impeachment with Joe Biden. He went from being a FBI informant working for the government to all of a sudden saying that the Bidens took a $5 million bribe, to all of a sudden being arrested for lying about that statement. And the latest news, folks, he has disappeared out of prison. And that's the exact word, disappeared. For 4 months, he has been, there were servers that have been trying to serve him inside the Federal Correction Institution. They couldn't find him. He's still on the books as a prisoner. Finally, sheriff has came out and given an explanation, which is a bullshit explanation. He said that he's on furlough. He's serving a 6-year prison term.
Prisoner.
This is he's a prisoner that wasn't even allowed bail because of his flight risk. He has 2 passports. He's an Israeli and a Russian
Yeah.
considered spy, and he is now nowhere to be found. So I've been making phone calls, and I'm hearing that there are rumblings of Donald Trump thinking of pardoning this individual and starting. This is, you can't make this up. There's a lot going on, and this is something I'm working on. I wrote the story yesterday. I broke it. There's more things that are going to be I'm going to be uncovering, but a lot of people don't know. But when Smirnov got arrested, Zev, I was the intermediary between Smirnov's legal team and Biden's legal team and the Congress. And at some point, Smirnov, I had a feeling, was going to flip and tell the truth, what was going on, and the pressure that they were putting on him to testify against Biden. And then they pulled the rug at the last second. And I remember telling Hunter, that they got to him, and you're going to watch what happens. And then that's when right away he took the plea deal. They covered it up, and today I'll send you the article that he's nowhere to be found.
Mhm.
But we're right now trying to figure out. This is a Russian Israeli spy that basically
Huge
started the
deal.
impeachment on the Biden.
I mean, this
Huge
is the
deal.
whole
Yeah,
story
Huge
that you were
deal.
involved in about,
that's
trying to,
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
tarnish Hunter Biden. This was that whole
Yep.
episode with Hunter Biden's briefcase. I'm sorry,
Yep.
notebook computer. I mean, it's so. It seems like ancient history, but it's such an important story, and it reflects
Yeah. Incredible.
the inside influence that the Israelis or the Russians, whomever, have on this White House, and how they can actually pull a prisoner out of prison, make him disappear. Um,
Wow.
it's
Exactly.
just
That's
unbelievable.
something, right?
I
Like
mean,
like a
isn't
spy
furlough
novel.
something they do like if someone passes away and like they'll give you like a day to like go to a funeral or something? Is that like a
Well,
furlough?
yeah. Well, let me take it a step, just since we're talking
Yeah.
about, and I'll send you guys the article, and so you could dig into it a little bit also, and see what you guys could find. But the story. So let me give you. So basically, a few months ago, there was he was being sued civilly. So a process server went to the prison, and which happens every day, to serve the prisoner with the lawsuit. When he came to the prison, they couldn't find him. So this process
Wow.
server we kept coming, returning for 2 months straight when and they couldn't find him. Finally, they told them that the prisoner is there, and they would get back to him. After a period of 4 months, now he's serving a 6-month sentence. I don't even know when they took him out. Just think about it. 4 months. The sheriff of the prison came back and said he has been furloughed, and that's it.
Mm.
They don't talk about what. So one of my friends, that's a journalist, was digging into it, and they're trying to use the excuse that he has glaucoma. But you don't furlough somebody 6 years. You don't release them because of glaucoma. There's people in there in prison sitting there that are cancer, almost dead,
Yeah.
and they don't get released. So glaucoma would not be. So that's why it interested me. I called up. I'm hearing that they're trying to reinstigate that whole Biden thing again. These are all distractions from the Epstein files, but it's major. But it shows you the major power, and how Trump is using the power of the pardon, the power of the DOJ, and the power of the BOP, the prison bureau system, to be able to manipulate and just have a prisoner disappear. So when I showed that to some of Congress people, they almost had a heart attack. I think this is going to become a major issue, and we're going to find where's Waldo, and make an issue where
It's
this
so
guy is. So
important.
this is
Because the
yeah.
DOJ and the every arm of the DOJ is being weaponized in such a horrific way that we don't even recognize justice. It looks like Russia. It just the way they operate now
Yeah.
is like a
Yeah,
hit squad. They go after people
100%.
who the president is
Yep.
unhappy with. Now they've got all our
Yep.
social media content because they subpoenaed
Yeah.
that the other day. Because if you said something against ICE or you said something against, they will access that. It is the
There's
start of a very dark era that the DOJ is being utilized in this way to go after people. It's just unbelievable. In the United States, this is happening.
Zeb, think about the McCarthy era. Think about how
Hmm.
they spied on American citizens. You don't think they're doing that now? We're
Yeah, yeah.
seeing it in open sight. They're spying on Congress people. They're spying on Congress people. You got Congress people that now we see in a skiff where they're supposed to be, and you see Pam Bondi going in there with pictures of what they
Yep.
have been looking at. So you
Yeah.
so you
So,
don't
so
think
hardly secure.
you don't think that, right? You don't think the FBI is looking at independent journalists, or you don't think things are going on behind the scenes. And, just think. Remember with McCarthy era, I would say this is 2.0. So I think this is a lot worse. And when this is all said and done, the things that we're going to uncover and see that have been going on in the past year alone is going to make a lot of people's heads spin. But folks, we could talk about all day long.
Hmm.
The important part is
Forever.
action. Action. You're exactly. Action is what gets our democracy back. And the one thing that we've been making it very clear, our team, some of us call us the wolf pack, some of us call us independent journalists, some of us call us just human beings. Individuals that are looking for justice for people like us, for everybody else out there. But whatever you want to call us, the one thing I want you to understand is that we're not giving up, and we're going to keep digging. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep making sure, speaking truth to power, and to hold these powerful people accountable. Get justice for the survivors. The one way you could do that now is we have a petition. We have 30,000 signatures, folks. It's just the beginning. I'm holding it back. I want to try to get 100,000 before we hand it over to Congress in the next few weeks. So it's being passed around. We're adding more names to it. As Zev, as Ellie, as Kate are finding more names, discovering more information. We're adding that to this Epstein file. It's a signature, but it means a lot. It's your voice. The second thing is keep calling your Congress people, put pressure, and not the Democrats, the Republicans. You call your and say to, because the dam is breaking. They are internally having conversations that they're not agreeing with Trump because of a lot of things. These Epstein files, especially with the push that Marjorie Taylor Greene right now is doing, especially with what's going on, Joe Rogan and others on the right now that are destroying Donald Trump. I am telling you from somebody on the inside, and we've been talking about Zev, Ellie, Kate, Wash. We've been talking about pounding the table. It doesn't matter who's in them. All of these people, they need to be subpoenaed. We need to start having questions, not giving them these opportunities to be able to come on there and say, "Oh, I don't remember," or "I wasn't there," or "This wasn't a clown show." We have facts. We have like Steve Bannon, where we have tons of information. Michael Wolff, tons of information that needs to be released: pictures, videos, audios, conversations. It's all the way starting back then, going all the way up to when Trump was in office in his first administration, going up to all the way up to, just think about what was uncovered yesterday by Roger Sollenberger. Just think about how crazy, and I'm sorry, guys, to just
No, keep
go
going.
off,
It's
go
fine.
off a little bit on this, but it's extremely important because we have now have evidence that there was another 13 to 15-year-old girl that her complaint was actually filed. The DOJ, the FBI took a 302, and then actually a female by the same description ended up getting a settlement from the Epstein estates in 2021. So we know that
I
Katie
didn't hear about
Johnson
that
is one.
actually.
We
That's
know that.
brand new to me. That's
Oh,
incredible.
oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. Roger Sallenberg. So the fact that yes, they're playing these words, there is plenty of credible information and this is again against Donald Trump and Epstein. It wasn't just about Epstein; it was about Donald Trump and Epstein. So, folks, the number one thing we could do is keep the pressure on. Remember, there's more of us than them, and the one thing Donald Trump is scared more than anything is the power of the people, the power of our voices. So just the number one, we keep doing it, keep subscribing. Make sure you subscribe to Zev because the work that Zev is doing, I can't tell you, behind the scenes, he's helping a lot with a lot of stuff from the technical
Yes.
side of it to the investigative side of it. I just want to say I'm really proud to have you on my team, Zev, and be a part of your team to get this fight for justice. Kate Justice, I just met her not too long ago, but the incredible work she's been doing, uncovering certain stuff, putting pressure on. Just want to do a shout out to her. Happy birthday, Kate. You're really
Thank you.
incredible. Ellie's not here with us. Waj. I mean, these are people that I just want to say to you that are doing some of the incredible work, including my son, which is I definitely, because he's also hasn't slept in God knows how long, searching through
No.
all of these. I mean, files, decoding them, connecting the dots, being able to come out here and explain it to all of you. And then the things that we are doing behind the scenes that none of you we could even tell you now, but we are making history. And this is a team that is really, truly going to make sure that the survivors get justice and these criminals have accountability. All of us, not just us. When I say team, it's this whole community, it's this whole family, it's each and every one of you that subscribes. But what's more important, folks, that those of you that can, and we ask you, and I always tell you kindly, we need your paid subscriptions. And I don't want for those folks that can't become paid subscribers to feel that this is not your home, that this is, yes, it's for everybody. But for those paid subscribers that allow us to be independent, that allow us not to, be part of the mega media that has corporate sponsors, that has people that influence their opinion, because the only people we are accountable to, besides ourselves and our family, is to you. And that is
Mhm.
why we have such independent media. And that's why you're able to get the truth. And like they say, nothing but the truth, except for, so we ask of you, if you kindly, if you can, become paid subscribers. If you can't, become just a subscriber, spread the message. But the one thing is everybody could do something. Doing nothing is not an option because it's all of ours. We have to put together. We're not only saving our democracy, folks, because we have people here, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands and millions all over the world, because this right-wing movement, this movement being pushed by Donald Trump, is affecting Canada. It's affecting Australia. It's affecting Eastern Europe. It's affecting Africa. It's affecting Asia. It's affecting people all over the world. The policies, the effects, the ripple effect. It's like an earthquake, but then you see all of these minor little, earthquakes going around, and you see them all over the world. So but if we nip it at the bud, which is Donald Trump, everything else will start coming together. So, folks, keep up doing what you're doing. And Zev, thank you for the great work. Happy
thank you.
birthday, Kate. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank
Thanks for
you
being
very
on,
much.
both of you. And I'll just add, that's brilliant. So not much to add to that, except to say that, on Howard Lutnick, keep the pressure up, because that dam is breaking. There is way too much dirt on that man for him to continue to be the Commerce Secretary under anybody's, no matter who's the president. That man has crossed every line possible to still be the president. There's a lot of corruption. And if you're part of the investigative community that's helping us with all of this, let's dig into Lutnick even further, because there is a lot there that needs to be uncovered. And with that, I want to thank you all. I'll post the Epstein grand jury audio at the bottom of this page. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for subscribing to all these wonderful people who are helping, Lev and Kate, and to all the others that are here. And have a great night. We'll see you again on the 5 Stack tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.